So let me give you a quick and dirty basic overview of Buddhism here from Laos, as it's pronounced in the West. So in Buddhism, I think one of the most important things to keep in mind is that on the Buddha's awakening, the very first thing he decided, apparently, was to not teach, that it would be far too difficult to use words to express that which he had discovered. And really, he didn't discover anything. It's really paradoxical. I'm sorry to... When the Buddha attained complete and total enlightenment, he gained nothing whatsoever. But nonetheless, he apparently started teaching, and thus has sprung up two principal pathways, Hinayana and Mahayana. Hinayana is the monastic tradition of Buddhism, sometimes referred to as personal enlightenment. I think of it as go away, leave me alone, I want to get enlightened. It's pretty much a withdrawal from the world and an immersion into meditation. Mahayana means wider path, wider or great road, and is principally Tibetan Buddhism. And this looks at from the Bodhisattva point of view, which is theoretically refusing to take enlightenment for oneself until one has literally stood at the gate, the gateless gate, and assisted all sentient beings to pass through the gate before one. So service to all beings. There's another Buddhism which is not as well known, called Vajrayana. Vajra means thunderbolt, diamond, or lightning. And Vajrayana is sort of tantric Buddhism. It strides over both Mahayana and Hinayana Buddhism. Vajrayana, which is the principal yana that I studied, is a tantric form of Buddhism which takes quite a lot from the yogic tradition in terms of these body centers and certain practices that facilitate the awakening of bodhicitta, or you could look at similarities to Kundalini in the human body, the awakening of energy centers and the changing of worldviews through particular physical and meditational practices, Vajrayana. For Vajrayana, in fact for most of them, really you need a teacher to try and find your way. You know, the Buddha had a teacher. In these times, which is the 21st century, there is a lot of controversy about needing a teacher, because most teachers, most male teachers, unfortunately have fucked up tremendously in terms of honesty and the way they treat students. There are other angles to look at from this, but this is the consensual angle. And so far doesn't include the Dalai Lama. Nonetheless, I would say it's imperative to find a good teacher. And the Buddha himself had 5 different teachers at different stages in his development. And it was said bypassed all of them in order to discover. And what he did discover was anatta. Anatta means non-self. So in Hinduism, and this is entirely my interpretation, in Hinduism there's basically reaching the level of oneness with God. Whether that God is Krishna for the bhaktas or devotional, or Shiva for the yogis, those who raise Kundalini. Buddha attained these states but found them unsatisfactory, found them impermanent, and so went on into shunyata, or void, or the two truths, or Mahamudra, and discovered that from the very beginning there never was a self. This is not helpful at all in terms of intellectual, mental understanding. It is a revelation, it is an attainment, it is an experience that must be had oneself. Simply spouting the scriptures is really a nasty, horrible trap that one can get caught in for many lifetimes, if there is such a thing. So that's just a really basic overview, my personal overview, if there is a my personal, of the Buddhism. It has become a religion. It isn't really. Here they seem to worship Buddha. I'm not sure he would have appreciated that at all. I'm not sure Jesus would have either, but I'll leave that for now. It has to be done oneself. Thank you.